The relationship this girl had with her parents could best be described as an open book. There were no secrets in their lives. Well, almost no secrets. Because there was one room in the house she was forbidden to visit. It even had a lock on the door, but one night she snuck in and found this box. Inside was a secret that would change her life forever. Girl finds something in parents' closet that turns her whole world upside down. Analise Harrison had always felt an inexplicable connection with her parents. Their relationship wasn't the typical one of mere blood ties. They were her best friends, her confidants. Even at 16, she shared everything with them, her highs and lows, her dreams and her fears, her strengths and vulnerabilities. The Harrisons were not just a family, they were a tight-knit unit, a team. However, amidst this warmth and openness, there was one offbeat note that always played on Annalise's mind, a single blemish on an otherwise clear canvas, her parents' clothing room, a place curiously off-limits. It wasn't a massive, foreboding place. In fact, it was quite the opposite, a modest, regular-sized room with a white soft carpet floor. But she wasn't allowed inside. The room was tucked between their spacious master bedroom and the sunny bathroom. But something about it always seemed strangely guarded, its secrets tightly locked behind an old-fashioned wooden door. As a young child, Analise didn't think much of it. It was just another part of the house where grown-up things happened. She would sometimes wander in there as a child. Her small hands ran over the fine fabrics and gleaming accessories, her young mind incapable of comprehending the significance of the room. But once she began to grow older, her parents gently but firmly forbade her from entering. It seemed like a benign request at the time, a small token of privacy that they asked from her. Out of respect and love, she obliged. But, as it so often happens, the innocence of childhood gradually faded as Analise entered her teenage years. Rebellion began to bubble up within her, igniting a spark of curiosity. The off-limits room became an enigma, a mystery that seemed to challenge her youthful audacity. One afternoon, she came home from school with her best friend, Maddie, who was an instigator of bad behavior. Their minds were buzzing with the adrenaline rush of a failed math test and the impending dread of their parents finding out. In the midst of the chaos, they found themselves standing before the wooden door, the off-limits room presenting itself as a welcome distraction from the math debacle. It felt like a dare, a test of their courage. But would they commit? And as they stood there, the keyhole to the room glinting mischievously, the temptation became irresistible. It was like a treasure that was just there waiting to be picked up. Maddie nudged Analise, a wild twinkle in her eyes. Should we? The unspoken challenge hung in the air. Analise glanced at the door and then back at Maddie, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that beyond the door lay a realm of the unknown, a Pandora's box that might change everything she knew about her family. It was an insidious thrill, the exhilaration of the forbidden, and she found herself slowly reaching out toward the doorknob. But their devious plans were put to a quick halt when the door was locked once again. Maddie went home, her heart filled with disappointment and an undercurrent of resentment. She blamed Analise, saying she was a coward, too afraid to confront her parents about the mysterious room. Maddie accused her of choosing her parents' side, surrendering to their veiled authority. Analise, hurt and angered, showed Maddie the door, ending the playful day on a sour note. Despite her anger towards Maddie, the seed of doubt had been planted. Analise lay awake in bed that evening, staring up at the ceiling, her mind consumed by the enigma that was the locked room. She questioned the secrecy and felt a pang of hurt at her parents' lack of trust. A thought loop played in her mind, making her question everything she thought she knew. The room was suddenly not just a locked door anymore, but a symbol of her parents' guardedness. Determined to uncover the truth, Analise hatched a plan. It was daring, reckless, and bordered on betrayal, but the lure of the unknown was too strong to resist. She decided to break into the room alone to sneak a peek at the secret her parents had so carefully hidden away. At 3:00 in the night, she found herself standing before her parents' bedroom door, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. The house was eerily quiet, the only sound was the rhythmic breathing of her parents in the room. Her mother, she knew, always kept the key to the mysterious room close by. During the day, it was nestled in her pocket. But at night, it had to be somewhere else. Summoning all her courage, she tiptoed into the room. The moonlight streaming through the window provided just enough light to make out the shapes of her sleeping parents. The sight of them in peaceful slumber filled her with guilt, but the gnawing curiosity overpowered her, propelling her forward. She carefully approached her mother's side of the bed. She knew her mother was a light sleeper, and a single sound could awaken her. She had to be cautious. Her gaze roved around the room, scanning for the hiding spot of the key. Her eyes landed on the bedside table, an ornate wooden piece with a drawer. It was the most plausible place. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind as she reached out to the drawer. The consequences of her actions weighed heavily on her, but the secrets that lay beyond the wooden door felt like an urgent call she couldn't ignore. The handle felt cold under her fingers, a stark contrast to the heat radiating from her nervous body. As she slid open the drawer, the old wood creaked softly under her touch. She held her breath. She expected her parents to wake up any moment. But the room remained eerily silent, her parents lost in the world of dreams. The drawer was a pandemonium of various objects, a pair of reading glasses, a few books, and a hairbrush. But among these mundane items, there was no key to be found. Where could the darn thing be, she thought to herself. She heard a sound coming from behind her head. It was her mother. Was she waking up? Was she caught? Did she have to abort now? She looked around and looked at her mother's face. She was just inches removed from her face, but her mother's eyes remained closed. But then she saw it. The gleam of a metallic object caught her eye. It hung on a chain around her mother's neck. A long thin chain, and on the end of it, the key. Its polished surface reflecting the silvery moonlight gave it an almost mystical appearance. The key to the forbidden was in her grasp. A sense of excitement washed over her. Her plan brought her so close. She just had to find a way to grab it. Grab it without waking her up. She was now one step removed from unlocking the secrets that had been kept from her for years. But a nagging feeling of betrayal loomed in the back of her mind, tainting the moment. She looked at her parents once more, their faces calm and serene in sleep. They were oblivious to their daughter's silent rebellion. She took a deep breath, steeled her nerves, and reached out to grab it. Carefully, almost reverently, she unclasped the key from the hanger that secured it around her mother's neck. The act was smooth, uneventful, the silence deafening. She felt her heart race, adrenaline pumping through her veins. It was real. She held the key to the forbidden room. With the key in her possession, she quietly slipped out of the room, her mind still reeling from what she had just done. She took stealthy steps across the hallway, the cold wooden floor creaking softly. Her destination was just a few feet away, but each step seemed to take an eternity. As she stood before the wooden door, a rush of mixed emotions washed over her. She hesitated, her hand hovering over the doorknob. What would she find inside? Would it be something monumental, something that could change her life forever, or would it just be a collection of her mother's old clothes and shoes? Her thoughts were cut short as she heard a soft sound behind her. She spun around, her heart racing. Was it her parents? The hallway was empty. She let out a sigh of relief, a soft chuckle escaping her lips at her own paranoia. Turning back towards the door, she steeled her resolve, sliding the key into the keyhole. The click echoed in the silence, sounding louder than it really was. She turned the key, and the door creaked open, revealing the hidden room. It was an ordinary room, just as she had expected. A simple dressing room. It was filled with her mother's clothes, shoes, and makeup. Her initial disappointment quickly gave way to confusion in her mind. Why would her parents go to such lengths to hide such an ordinary room? She knew there had to be something more, something hidden beneath the surface. Undeterred, she stepped into the room, her eyes scanning the space, searching for anything out of the ordinary. She spent hours going through every item in the room, her disappointment growing with every passing minute. She sifted through a pile of old clothes, shoe boxes, makeup kits, and other mundane items. She was about to give up when her hand brushed against something unusual. A box. It was small, old, and slightly dusty. It was hidden underneath a pile of clothes in the back corner of the room. It seemed to be out of place, a relic of the past amidst the modernity of the rest of the room. The box was nondescript, an ordinary wooden box. Could this be it? Could this be the secret she had been looking for? She picked it up, her hands trembling. She examined it closely, her curiosity rekindled. The box was unmarked, and it looked rather unremarkable. She sat back on her heels, the box in her hands, her mind spinning with possibilities. The night had taken an unexpected turn. She had managed to gain access to the off-limits room and found a hidden box, but the mystery was yet to unfold. Could it be something that would change her life forever? Or was it just another ordinary item? The sun began to peek through the small window in the room, casting long shadows on the wooden floor. She looked at the clock, realizing she had spent the whole night in the forbidden room. The realization hit her hard. She had invaded her parents' privacy, stolen their secret. Despite the burgeoning guilt, the need to understand, to know, was too great. The box had an old lock, rusted with age, which she was easily able to break with a hairpin. With bated breath, she opened the box. Inside it was a treasure trove of items that seemed ordinary yet held an extraordinary story. A story that would change her life forever. There were trinkets, a stuffed animal, a pile of documents, and a couple of photographs. Each item felt like it was brimming with tales untold, secrets unheard. Analise picked up one of the photographs. It depicted 3 adults. She recognized 2 of them instantly, her mom and dad. They were much younger, but their faces were unmistakably familiar to her. Her gaze then fell on the third person, a woman she had never seen before. She was slightly younger than her mom and looked sad. A deep sorrow reflected in her eyes as if she had lost something precious. The woman was holding a baby. Who was this woman, and who was the baby? The questions whirled around in her mind, demanding answers. Shaking, she put the photograph aside and picked up the documents. Her heart pounded in her chest as she read through them all. With every word, every sentence, a heartbreaking truth dawned upon her. The woman in the photograph was not a stranger. She was her biological mother. The baby in the photograph wasn't unknown either, it was Analise herself. Analise was adopted at birth, and her parents had kept this truth from her all these years. The shock hit her like a physical blow, tears springing into her eyes as the enormity of the revelation crashed over her. All these years, she had been living a lie, and the secret had been hidden away in this ordinary room all along. She rummaged through the other items in the box and found her birth certificate and adoption papers. They confirmed the bitter truth that she had just discovered. She was not the biological child of the parents she had loved and admired all her life. The woman who gave birth to her was someone she had never met, living a life she knew nothing about. At that moment, Analise felt like her whole world had come crashing down. The parents she knew were not her own. The family she thought she had wasn't either. She felt a strange mix of emotions, betrayal, confusion, sadness, and even a tinge of anger. But there was also a part of her that understood. It was a confusing mess of emotions that brought her to tears. As the first rays of the dawn streamed through the window, Analise wiped her tears. She decided to confront her parents about the truth she had discovered. She wanted to hear the story from them. With the box of secrets tucked under her arm, she headed toward her parents' room. Her parents were shocked to see her, more so when they saw the box she was holding. The color drained from their faces. She knew now. "Am I adopted?" Analise asked, her voice a mere whisper. Her mother reached for the necklace around her neck, the chain that once held the key. "So, you know now," she said, her voice heavy with unshed tears. Her parents explained everything. Her biological mother, Claudia, was a poor woman from Poland who had given her up for adoption. She was hoping for a better life for her daughter. They had offered Claudia the chance to be part of Annalise's life, but she had declined, fearing it would be too hard for Analise to comprehend. They still send Claudia money every month, and even though she is still poor, she apparently is doing much better. After the story was finished, her mother feared Annalise's reaction. But the reaction Analise gave them was totally different. She jumped onto the bed into the arms of her parents. "You are my parents. And I am grateful you helped my birth mother when she needed help. But you raised me, and I will always love you for that." Now 6 months later, she has frequent contact with her biological mother. They even agreed to meet up this summer.